Hey there, this is Digital Podcast episode 263, Slay 8, Sigma, do not learn slang. Are you tired of lacking confidence when speaking English? Does it block you from achieving your true goals? This podcast is the place for you. This is Teacher Ola Podcast. My name's Ola Mierniczak and I empower English learners to become confident speakers. The key to fluency is in your pocket. You'll boost your vocabulary, brush up your grammar and improve your pronunciation. Enjoy your journey to fluency. Hello and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about something you've probably come across a lot in your language journey, slang. You've likely heard it in movies, on social media, and it might seem like a fun and easy way to sound more fluent, but is learning slang really worth your time? In today's episode, we'll break down 5 reasons why focusing on slang might not be the best idea for you. Stick with me and you'll learn how to prioritize the language skills that will help you succeed in all kinds of situations, from casual conversations to professional settings. Let's get started. But before we do just that, let me give you a short update on what is going on, what I'm working on currently. So the previous Seoul group has begun week 9 out of 12 weeks in the course, in the program, and a brand new, fresh group is waiting for the first speaking club. Thank you all for joining Seoul Adventure Group. Welcome. It's going to be a great learning experience. And if you haven't joined us and now you regret it, well, there's no way to get into the course now. You've got to wait for another edition and I'll let you know when it opens. If your level of English is lower than B1, it's not the right time for you to join Seoul course. I'm working on something for you. These are vocabulary boosters. In other words, vocabulary lists on a A2 level, beginner's level. If you have the first list titled People, check your inbox now because I've sent you a little surprise. Okay, time to jump into today's episode. 5 reasons why you shouldn't learn slang. Number 1, slang is short-lived. What's popular today will be outdated tomorrow. Slang constantly evolves and fades out of fashion quickly. By the time you learn it, it could already be outdated, making your efforts feel wasted. Instead of keeping up with trends that will soon disappear, I assure you, focus on language skills that have long-term value. Slang tends to be trendy and short-lived. New words come into fashion quickly and disappear just as fast. For instance, if you learned the word YOLO, you only live once, in 2012, when it was popular, it would now sound outdated or even off in many contexts. Similarly, terms like on fleek or bae were all over social media for a time, but they faded away within a few years. Slang is heavily influenced by social media, pop culture, and youth subcultures, which makes it hard to keep up with for anybody, really, for anybody, but especially if you're learning English. Slang is also constantly evolving. A word that means one thing today can shift in meaning or be completely replaced tomorrow. Take the word lit, for example, which used to refer to being drunk, but is now more often used to describe something exciting or fun. That's lit. This fluidity makes it tough for all English users, all of them. All of English users, not only us learners of English from Poland, but also so-called native speakers. So it's very hard to rely on slang because the moment you start to feel comfortable with certain words, those terms might already be outdated. As an English learner, it can feel like you're chasing a moving target. It's better to focus on language that has long-term relevance and can be applied universally across different settings rather than constantly updating your vocabulary to match fleeting trends. Number 2, cultural context is key. Slang can be misused or misunderstood. Many slang terms come from specific cultural or social groups, and using them without understanding their origins can lead to awkward or inappropriate situations. Misusing slang can even come across as disrespectful or inauthentic, especially if you're not aware of the full context behind the words. Slang can carry deep meanings related to race, gender, or social identity. Words like slay or yes queen were popularized by LGBTQ+ communities and people of color, particularly in the Black and drag cultures. And understanding their origins of slang words is crucial. And using them without knowing the full context can not only come off as awkward, but also could be viewed as cultural appropriation or insensitivity. Other words may have negative connotations depending on who's using them. For example, calling someone a Karen might be funny among certain groups, but in the wrong context, it could seem offensive or inappropriate. There's also the risk of sounding unnatural or inauthentic. Imagine an English learner trying to sound cool by using the latest slang but mispronouncing or misusing it. This might come off weird, and it could affect your credibility in any social interaction. Think about it. Do you really want to sound like this? Slang is not just words, it's loaded with cultural references and nuances that are difficult to grasp unless you're deeply embedded in the culture that it comes from. Do you want to sound like Generation Alpha, like a 12-year-old? I guarantee that the moment they are adults, they will stop using words like Sigma. No, it will happen even faster. It won't last till then. It's far safer to stick to neutral, widely understood language than to risk using slang incorrectly. You can still develop your style, your own voice. You don't need slang for it. 3. Slang isn't universal. It varies by region, age, and group. Slang changes not only between countries, but also within regions, generations, and social circles. What makes sense to one group might be confusing to another. Relying on slang can lead to miscommunication, especially when used in contexts where it's not understood or appreciated. There's also a generational gap in understanding slang, very big problem. Young people might understand words like ghosting or shook, but these terms may confuse older generations. That's normal. Young people always want to separate themselves from older generations. But do you? The risk of miscommunication is really high. Since slang is not universally understood, even among people who were born and raised in English-speaking countries, it poses a high risk to learners. You could use slang and have people from different English-speaking backgrounds misunderstand you, leading to breakdowns in communication. 4. Learning slang distracts you from essential language skills. So focusing on slang can take your time away from mastering the building blocks of English, like phrasal verbs, idioms, and phrases that are necessary for effective communication. These fundamental skills will be useful in both formal and informal situations, unlike slang, which has limited use, to say the least. Learning slang can divert your precious time and your precious energy away from more important aspects of the language. Think of it this way. Instead of focusing on trendy slang, you would be better served mastering phrasal verbs, idioms, and collocations that are widely used and understood across different regions and different age groups. For instance, learning how to use common phrasal verbs will be far more useful than knowing the latest internet slang, because phrasal verbs are core to English fluency and they show up in all sorts of contexts. Idioms also offer more universal value. They are more likely to come up in real-life situations than trendy slang. Moreover, idioms can help you sound more natural and fluent, giving you greater confidence in your language use, very important, whereas using slang can shake your confidence due to high likelihood of being misunderstood. Rather than chasing the latest slang trend, mastering these core language elements will serve you far better. Idioms, phrasal verbs, collocations, language functions, because fluency in foundational English skills opens doors, while using slang incorrectly might close them. 5. Slang is not useful in most contexts. Slang is rarely appropriate in everyday settings. If your goal is to communicate clearly in diverse environments, whether for work, study, or travel, slang won't help you. Stick to language that works universally across various scenarios. Slang is primarily useful in very specific contexts, mainly among peers in casual, informal settings. Think about job interviews, business meetings, writing emails, booking accommodation, going to restaurants, airports, and speaking to local people anywhere in Europe or outside Europe. You won't impress an employer. You won't impress a customs officer, a waiter, a receptionist, a bus driver, or a colleague, a shopping assistant, by throwing around terms like salty or flex. And in fact, it could hurt your credibility. Moreover, many learners aim to communicate clearly and effectively across a range of contexts. Slang often introduces unnecessary confusion or informality that detracts from the goal of clear communication. In professional environments, it's far more important to be polite, concise, and effective than to sound trendy. Since slang is useful in only a limited set of situations, it's not worth prioritizing in your language learning journey, especially if your goals include working, studying, traveling in an English-speaking environment. Instead, focus on acquiring vocabulary and expressions that will help you communicate effectively in a wide range of scenarios. Our time is limited and we must be mindful of how we spend it. Don't waste time on learning slang. For fun, for curiosity, yes. For understanding memes and viral videos, yes. But for real communication, nah. That's my personal opinion. You might have a different one, and if you want to share it, please do. Let's have a discussion. Let me know what you think. Share your thoughts in the comments or send a DM on Instagram or Facebook. You can email me as well. It's contact@teacherola.com. Now, don't forget the worksheet. Download it from teacherola.com/263 or check your inbox. If you've subscribed to my newsletter, you have the worksheet in your inbox. Let's practice speaking now. Listen to some of the sentences from this episode and repeat them out loud. Let's go. Slang constantly evolves and fades out of fashion quickly. Slang constantly evolves and fades out of fashion quickly. Slang tends to be trendy and short-lived. Slang tends to be trendy and short-lived. Misusing slang can even come across as disrespectful. Misusing slang can even come across as disrespectful. Understanding their origins is crucial. Understanding their origins is crucial. There's also a generational gap in understanding slang. There is also a generational gap in understanding slang. The risk of miscommunication is high. The risk of miscommunication is high. Phrasal verbs are core to English fluency. Phrasal verbs are core to English fluency. Idioms also offer more universal value. Idioms also offer more universal value. Slang is rarely appropriate in everyday settings. Slang is rarely appropriate in everyday settings. Don't waste time on learning slang. Don't waste time on learning slang. I love you, I believe in you, I know you can speak English with fluency if you really wanted. Stay fearless, take care and say it out loud. I'm your teacher, Teacher Ola, and you are listening to Teacher Ola Podcast. Bye for now.